Some stories begin softly. Mine detonated inside my chest. I was standing in the principal's office, fingers shaking. Tears pressing hard behind my eyes, while two flawlessly dressed parents stared straight through me, like I was something unpleasant they'd stepped on by accident. They didn't bother hiding their smiles. To them, I wasn't a mother protecting her child. I was a cautionary tale. A single woman who'd failed at life. A woman who dared to raise a child alone and paid the price for it. All they saw was a cardigan, worn heels, and exhaustion. What they didn't know, what they couldn't imagine, was that one phone call could summon a force that would dismantle their smug confidence and make them choke on every cruel word they just released. If you've ever been told you're insufficient, if you've been made to believe that standing alone is weakness, that motherhood without a partner is a flaw, this story is for you. Not because it's gentle, but because it's armor. What comes next isn't just about hurt, it's about power. Open your heart, because this is a reminder of what real family looks like when the world turns hostile. And believe me, when love and protection walk together, no bully survives the encounter. My name is Hazel. I'm 38 years old. For most of my life, I built walls so high nothing could climb over them. Not love, not pain. I told myself that was strength. I know better now. It was fear, polished until it looked like armor. My first lesson came from my father, Christopher, the man who taught me how quickly love can disappear. I was 13 when I found my mother. Clara slumped at the kitchen table, hands trembling as she stared at proof of his affair. He didn't just betray us. He replaced us. Walked away into a shinier, younger version of life without warning. Left behind unpaid bills, a broken woman, and a daughter who learned early that love has an expiration date. Mom worked herself into the ground to keep us afloat. 3 jobs, cheap meals, clothes that carried someone else's name before mine. I learned not to expect rescue. I learned how silence can masquerade as dignity when pride is all you have left. 3 years later, she remarried. His name was William. I was 16, angry, guarded, allergic to hope. William was everything my father wasn't: calm, reliable, successful. He owned half the downtown real estate, which only made me trust him less. Power, I believed, always demanded a price. So I kept my distance. I didn't call him Dad. I didn't accept his money. I didn't trust his steady kindness. When he offered to pay for college, I chose debt instead. I refused to let another man think he owned any part of me. The day I turned 18, I packed my bags, ignored his goodbye, and walked out without looking back. Life didn't get easier. It got louder. I waited tables, poured coffee, pulled double shifts while chipping away at student loans fueled by stubborn pride. That's where I met Michael, 25, creative, chasing dreams as a graphic designer. I was 23 and bone tired. He noticed me. And somehow, that was enough. After years of forcing myself to be unbreakable, I met someone who made me laugh. Over spilled espresso and midnight bus rides. He told me I was beautiful even when I smelled like coffee grounds and exhaustion. He made the world feel lighter. 6 months later, we moved in together. 2 years after that, I was pregnant. For the first time, I believed maybe miracles still happen to women like me. At first, Michael was excited. Baby books, nursery plans, talk of a future that felt real. But hope can lie better than fear ever could. As my body changed, his attention drifted. Nights out stretched longer. Messages grew shorter. Excuses stacked up like unwashed dishes. By month 7, I found the texts flirtatious, careless, devastating. When I confronted him, he didn't apologize. He blamed me. Said I'd changed. Said pregnancy made me boring. Said he needed space. He left with half a suitcase and all his self-pity. 6 weeks later, Martha was born. He wasn't there. No calls. No money. No acknowledgement. It was as if we'd never existed. That was lesson number 2. Men don't stay. It's never a matter of if, only when. I locked that truth deep inside and built my life around it. William kept reaching out. Birthday messages, small checks, quiet attempts through my mother. I ignored them all. I thought pushing people away meant I was strong. I thought independence meant isolation. Then the world decided to challenge everything I believed. My daughter, Martha, 10 years old, gentle, creative, bright in the way sunshine is bright, started coming home with red eyes and trembling lips. At first, it was whispers, giggles, the kind of quiet cruelty children learn by watching adults. And that's when everything began to change. But it didn't stop there. It grew teeth. Amanda Denton, armed with cruelty and parents who mistook money for virtue, turned bullying into sport. Day after day, she stalked my daughter with words meant to wound. You don't have a dad because your mom's a bad woman. That's why he left. Nobody wants you. Martha tried to ignore it. She tried to be strong. But even the bravest hearts fracture when they're hit often enough. Then Amanda crossed a line she couldn't walk back from. Martha had spent weeks crafting a butterfly sculpture for class. Delicate, colorful, made with pride. Amanda destroyed it. Snapped it apart and sneered, loud enough for others to hear. Fatherless girls don't deserve to win anything. Something inside my daughter shattered. She pushed Amanda. Hard. Amanda fell, scraped her knee, and ran home crying. That was all it took. The next morning, my phone rang. Ms. Hazel. Principal Harrison said. His voice clipped and formal. We need to discuss a serious incident involving your daughter. When I walked into his office, the air felt heavy, oppressive. Principal Harrison sat stiffly behind his desk. Beside him were Andrew and Amber Denton, dressed like they were heading to court. Not a meeting about elementary school children. Andrew crossed his legs with practiced confidence. The kind of man who mentioned he was a lawyer before offering his name. Amber's perfume filled the room, sharp and suffocating. She smiled, thin and cold. Ms. Hazel, thank you for coming, Harrison began. We have a serious situation. I stayed calm. I told the truth. The weeks of harassment. The insults. The messages Martha sent me at night, begging not to go back to school. I held up my phone. Proof. That's when Amber cut me off. Enough, she said crisply. Your daughter assaulted mine. She pushed her to the ground. That's violence. I stared at her, stunned. She was defending herself after months of. Amber leaned forward, eyes glittering. Children without structure act out, Miss Hazel. It's unfortunate, really. No father. Just you. Overwhelmed. Some women simply aren't equipped to raise children alone. Her words landed harder than any slap. My pulse roared in my ears. My stomach twisted. Andrew slid a document across the desk, smooth and rehearsed. "We're willing to keep this out of the legal system if you sign," he said. I looked down. It wasn't an apology. It was a confession. A statement declaring that I'd failed as a mother. That my unstable home caused Martha's behavior. That I accepted full responsibility for. Poor parenting. "You want me to say I'm a bad mother?" I whispered. Amber tilted her head, feigning sympathy. "We'd prefer you take accountability. Maybe enroll in a parenting class. Or a father figure program. Every child needs a man. That's just biology." Even Principal Harrison shifted uncomfortably. Then he cleared his throat. "Ms. Hazel. Until you sign and demonstrate remorse, Martha will remain suspended. We can't allow violent students to return without consequences." I sat there, frozen. Humiliated. Hollowed out. They weren't punishing my daughter. They were punishing me. For being abandoned. For surviving. For raising a child alone. They were telling me their cruelty was my fault. And now my daughter was paying for it. I didn't sign anything. I stood up, walked out, got into my car, and shook in the parking lot until my hands went numb. When I got home, Martha was waiting. Her eyes were swollen from crying. She looked up at me and asked the question that broke something open in my chest. "Mummy, why doesn't my daddy protect me?" I had no answer. "Am I suspended because Amanda's right?" she whispered. "Because you're a bad woman." That was the moment everything collapsed. Not because I was single. Not because I was weak. But because I'd been too proud. Too afraid to accept help from the one man who had offered it for 20 years. Martha didn't need a villain punished. She needed proof the lies weren't true. She needed someone to stand between her and the world and say, "Enough." I walked into the kitchen, hands shaking, and opened my phone. My thumb hovered over a name I hadn't touched in decades. William. My stepfather. I pressed call before fear could stop me. He answered on the second ring. Hazel. His voice was older, roughened by time, but steady, grounded. Calm in a way that felt like he'd been waiting for this call my entire life. I couldn't speak at first. My throat locked. Then everything spilled out, the bullying, the suspension, the document they tried to force on me, the way they humiliated me in that office, the way they called me inadequate, a bad woman, someone who deserved to be left. There was a long silence. When William spoke again, the warmth was gone. What replaced it was ice, measured, controlled fury. "Listen to me carefully," he said. "You are my daughter. Martha is my granddaughter, and those people have made a profound mistake." I closed my eyes. "You have not failed her," he continued. "They failed both of you." Then, firm and unmistakable, "Do not sign anything. Do not speak to anyone. I will handle this." "I don't want your money." "This has nothing to do with money," he interrupted, his voice softening just enough to hurt. "This is family. And you've been my family since the day I married your mother. I'm sorry I let you push me away for so long, But I'm not letting you face this alone. Not anymore. He told me to meet him at the school the next morning. 9 a.m. sharp. I hung up and stared at my phone, fear and hope colliding in my chest. Had I just opened the door to healing? Or another disappointment? That night, sleep never came. I replayed every insult, every smirk, every ounce of the Dentons' confidence. At 8:55 a.m. Standing outside Principal Harrison's office, I saw a sleek black car pull up. The door opened. William stepped out. He looked exactly like what he was, a man with power, resources, and zero tolerance for injustice. He walked over, placed a firm hand on my shoulder, and gave me a single nod. For the first time in 20 years, I didn't feel alone. We walked into the office together. The Dentons were already seated, smug and relaxed. Principal Harrison looked prepared to rush the meeting and pressure me into submission. Then William spoke. "Good morning, Mr. Harrison." The principal looked up and went pale. Everyone in this city knew William. He funded half the district's programs, sat on advisory boards. He wasn't someone you ignored. Mr. William," Harrison stammered, standing abruptly. "I'm Hazel's stepfather," William said calmly, taking a seat across from the Dentons. "And Martha's grandfather." "I understand there's been some confusion about accountability." Amber Denton smiled thinly. "We're simply requesting an apology for Martha's violent behavior. Surely you understand the importance of discipline." William looked at her with the kind of calm that precedes devastation. "Mrs. Denton, let me be perfectly clear. Your daughter spent weeks psychologically tormenting my granddaughter. She used deeply personal insults about her family. When she destroyed Martha's project and mocked her for being fatherless, Martha defended herself." He paused. "That is not violence. That is self-preservation." Andrew Denton leaned forward. "With all due respect, Mr. William, your granddaughter pushed our daughter." William cut him off, his voice steel. "Your daughter has repeatedly and viciously bullied mine. And you too escalated that harm by spreading defamatory statements about my daughter's character, calling her inadequate, a bad woman." The room went silent. "That is defamation, Mr. Denton," William continued. "And I do not tolerate it." He turned to Principal Harrison. "Here's what's going to happen. Martha will be reinstated immediately. The school will issue a formal apology. The Dentons will submit written apologies to Hazel and Martha, and their daughter will be enrolled in a bullying intervention program." He leaned back, unhurried. "If any of this is refused, I will escalate this to the school board, the local media, and my legal team. Your choice." Principal Harrison looked like he might faint. "Mr. William, I'm sure we can resolve this." "Then resolve it now." The Dentons' confidence evaporated. Andrew tried to object. One look from William shut him down. 20 minutes later, I walked out of that office with a signed reinstatement, 2 apology letters, and the quiet certainty that the Dentons had lost every ounce of control they thought they had. William didn't gloat. He simply squeezed my shoulder. "You're a great mother, Hazel. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Stepping into the sunlight, I felt something I hadn't felt in decades. Protected, valued, loved. William didn't just win a confrontation. He gave me back my dignity. He proved family isn't about blood, it's about who shows up when the world tries to break you. Martha got her life back. And I finally got my father. If you think William defines what a real father looks like, hit that like button. If this story gave you chills, drop a comment and tell me what you would have done. And subscribe, because every week, we tell stories where justice isn't just served, it's delivered.